Welcome to Catfish Farm Enterprise. Here at Catfish Farm Enterprise, we'll help educate catfish farmers on how to start up and run a successful catfish farm business. Be you an existing catfish farmer that has been into the catfish farm business for a while, or a new farmer that wants to venture into the catfish farm business, or someone that is interested in the catfish farm business and wants to know more about the business. This is the right place for you. We give a practical guide, step-by-step guides on how to run a successful catfish farm business to make profits at the end. A lot of persons are into the business today and they are not making profits, some are acquiring losses, but at this place we help you to run your business effectively. Now, if you're new to the Catfish Farm Enterprise channel, hit on the subscribe button and turn up notification because we are going to be dropping out practical guides, videos on step-by-step ways to run the catfish farm business. Now, you can look at our previous videos that we have done that can guide you on how to start up the catfish farm business, things to note, the do's and don'ts in the catfish farm business that every new farmer should know before he ventures into the catfish farm business. So it will help you and to guide you all the way. So today we are going to be looking at feeding method in the catfish farm. Now, feeding accounts for barely 75% of your capital in the catfish farm business. So an adequate feeding helps your fish to do very well. So you need to understand the feeding techniques, the feeding pattern, and how to feed your fish for it to give good yield. So in our today's episode, we are going to be doing a breakdown guide on the feeding method in the catfish farm business. Now, the different sizes of the fishes have different sizes of feed they eat. Now, the catfish feed comes in different sizes. We have the 0.1 mm, we have the 1.5, we have the 0.8, we have the 2 mm, 4 mm, we have the 6 mm, and also the 9 mm. Now, this size also differs from different companies that manufacture them. Some call it the 8 mm, while some call it the 9 mm. So the sizes differ, but they are almost the same thing. It's just the name or the brand of the manufacturer of the feed. We also have different types of feed. We have the sinking feed and we have the floating feed. Now, whichever feed you want to make use of for the feeding, the size of your catfish also determines the size of the feed you give them per time. So in our today's episode, we are going to be giving a breakdown guide on when to feed a particular size and the duration you feed the fish. So get your pen ready, get your writing material ready, and stay tuned for a step-by-step guide on the various feed size and the duration you are going to feed them. Okay, now you're starting out with a breakdown for the feeding method. So the breakdown for the feeding method. Now, the feeding method, we have different, like I said earlier, we have different sizes of the fish feed and also different duration that we feed the fish. So in this video, we are going to give out a breakdown on the feeding patterns, on what size you feed a particular fish and the duration. So we are doing a table to show the duration and the size of feed you give to the feed. So first of all, we'll start with the feed size, and also we look at the duration. Now this is for fingerlings. So the first size we start up with is the 0.8 to 1.2 mm. So 0.8 mm to 1.2 mm. Now the sizes differs from different companies that produce them. So, but from 0.8 to 1.2, the fingerlings can pick that sizes. So, and this you do it for 2 weeks. So you feed your 0.8 to 1.2 for the first 2 weeks. So then after that, you move on to the 1.5 mm. Now, most of the companies, you might see 1.3 mm or thereabouts, but 1.3, 1.5 can go. And the duration for that will be for the next 2 weeks. Now, after this stage of feeding them, the 1.5, you do what we call the sorting. You sort the fishes into the different sizes. Now, as the fish tends to grow, they grow out into different sizes. Now, there are some that will grow faster, some that have maybe a little delay in the growth. So you sort them out to avoid cannibalism, so the bigger ones don't feed on the smaller ones, and also for spacing. So once you sort them out after this stage, now you introduce the 2 mm for them, the 2 mm, and the 2 mm you feed that for 3 weeks. Now, one thing also you have to note that is that now at this stage, most of them will be picking the 2 mm, whereby you might have some that are not picking the 2 mm, but maybe they might be still taking the 1.5. So that's one of the benefits of sorting. So those that can pick the 2 mm will start eating the 2 mm, while the smaller ones will start taking the 1.5, and after maybe some days they'll be able to pick the 2 mm comfortably. Now, after the 2 mm for the 3 weeks, you introduce the 3 mm. And the 3 mm you also feed them for the duration of 3 weeks. Then, after the 3 weeks have elapsed, you move on to the 4 mm. And 4 mm also is for 3 weeks. Now, note that as they tend to grow, you do what we call the regular sorting for the sizes, so that the bigger sizes don't feed on the smaller ones. So you sort them out per time. Now, also, our advice at this stage of the feed, from the 0.8 to the 4 mm, you go out for foreign feeds or feed that has good high protein content, because at this early stage, they need a lot of feed that have high protein content. Now, it depends on the type of feed you want to work with, maybe the floating or the sinking feed. But look out for feed that has high protein content. You give your fishes those feed, it will enable them grow faster at that stage. Now, after the 4 mm, you have to introduce the 6 mm. And the 6 mm also goes for 3 weeks. Then after the 3 weeks, after the 6 mm, you have the 9 mm. Now, which is for the last 3 weeks. Now, at this stage, following this pattern of feeding and consistency in your feeding, you should be having around 1.4 kg. From the smaller ones will be around 1 kg, 1.4, up to 1.7 kg. Now, after you are done with the 9 mm, at this stage you are ready to sell off. Now, you have a total of 19 weeks. So, following this pattern, you feed for 19 weeks. Now, the total weeks, which is the 19 weeks, and also the 19 weeks will give us 4 months. 4 months and 2 weeks. So with this pattern, by 4 months, 2 weeks, you are ready to sell your fish, and which is 133 days. 133 days. So you entering the catfish farm business, you just have to note that from fingerling stage, following this feeding method, by 133 days, you are ready to sell off, or by 4 months and 2 weeks, you are ready to sell. Now, following this pattern is essential for every catfish farmer, so that you don't underfeed or overfeed your fish. You don't give them the size of feed that they can't eat well, or you don't continue giving them a feed that is less than their current sizes. So stay tuned to our channel, subscribe, and watch our previous videos that we have done earlier. And we are going to be dropping subsequent videos on practical guide on feeding pattern and more educative videos from this channel. Until next time, have a wonderful day. Thank you.